some friends a couple of weeks ago. Okay, they weren't friends, they were my writing group. And this was a little 5-minute and 16-second excerpt from my book I was going to read and just reading it Crush in a couple of weeks. And I could hear everyone around the table drawing stars on all those sets of pages as soon as I said, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. Except, Christy was 2 seats to my left. Do I need to say it? She said. Toby was right across from me. I'll say it, she said. When you say you don't have to tell me what it's like to get kicked in the balls, Toby said, you lose 51% of your audience. It's just this 15-year-old kid, Michael, talking about how he gets kicked in the balls by his best friend, Red. And Red feels bad and comes up with this idea to hitchhike up to Big Sur. And this hitchhiking trip is what the whole book is about, but I'm only on page 83 of the first draft. And I love the way Michael says, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. Because then he tells exactly what it's like to get kicked in the balls. And being Tom Spanbauer's writing group, being Dangerous Writing, the kid Michael is remarkably similar to me, Doug, even though I'm making a lot of this shit up. And Michael's best friend, Red, is a good deal like my old friend, Ned. And Ned really did kick me in the balls, and he really did ask me to hitchhike up to Big Sur, and he brought along another best friend. And the kick in the balls was how the whole thing started, this coming-of-age story where these picaresque tales of Ned, and Doug, and the other friend whose name I don't remember because he was just the asshole who Ned was hanging out with. So I went home and I took out the phrase about how I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls, because I didn't want to lose 51% of my audience. And I kept the part about how it hurt so much and how Michael threw up in the trash can right in front of a bunch of kids who thought he was a freak anyway, but since this is Dangerous Writing, I exaggerated the hell out of it, because getting kicked in the balls never made me throw up. But there's nothing like a good vomit to grab your readers, and anyway, I came up with another phrase instead of, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. And that phrase is, getting kicked in the balls is like snowflakes. No two kick in the balls are alike. You can forget all about, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls because every kick in the balls is different. Or if you're Tom Spanbauer, every kick in the balls is different. Some of you read that book. So I brought these pages back to the group, and this time Christy and Toby weren't even there. But this time Colin and Sage were there. And they said very helpful things. That is, they would have been helpful things if I wasn't fucked up from taking out the part about, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. Because it turns out I had these two train of thoughts going on in my head. And one train of thought was, fuck, I love the thing about how I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. It was a train of thought that was just, keep the fucking phrase. But that particular train of thought was all sitting there in the back of my head biding its time. The other train of thought was being cool about the whole thing and get rid of the phrase, don't lose 51% of your audience. Hey, you're smart enough to fix it. And this train, well, it was loud and it was right in the front of my head and it was like, cut a little here and cut a little there, and you still have this awesome 5-minute and 16-second piece about a kick in the balls. So Colin and Sage were giving me sage advice. Sorry. But my head hurt and I felt sick from the chili I had at the break and the sparkling whatever it was I drank and the delicious ladyfinger cake Colin's wife made for Brad's birthday. And when class was all over, I walked away from the table and I went outside with Dami. And I said to Dami, I'm fucked up. And Dami said I should put back in the thing about how I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. And I said I should just write a standalone piece that starts with, I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. And I drove home and told Tracy how fucked up I was. And I felt like I had been kicked in the balls. And I was so tired and my sinuses were pushing the hell out of my face. And I threw up in the toilet with a sound that came out like a primal scream, and the vomit burned my throat, and pieces of vomit were in my mouth and on my lips, and dangled down on vomit strings into the toilet. And the toilet needed a good scrubbing anyway, and guess what? This last part about throwing up didn't really happen. Because this is fucking Dangerous Writing and burnt tongue, and let me tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls. It's writing from the worst part inside you, and lying so you can tell the truth. And reading it to your friends or your writing group or whoever these people are you see every Thursday night in Tom Spanbauer's basement. And someone tells you to cut a phrase or you lose 51% of your audience. And you go home all proud because you're a writer and you can fix it and make it better and still keep 51% of your audience. But all it does is fuck you up and you can't hear the voice of reason or the voice of Tom Spanbauer or whatever the fuck. But you gotta do something because your name is on the posters for this burnt tongue reading thing. And Lydia fucking Euclid was tagged you in Facebook and goddamn 5-minute reading. So you sit down and you type out the words. I don't have to tell you what it's like to get kicked in the balls.